We got the hits. We got the gist. This is Lagos' #1 lifestyle station, City 1051 FM.
Shall we? Because this is a more it's a bigger platform, and there's a lot more people who are listening, and they get into your brains, hear exactly what you're saying, what you're thinking, and hopefully when your ideas, when your comments, your complaints, etc., are scaled, they can hear them and hopefully do something different, do something better. Yes, so that is the hope that we have. So get online on Twitter at City1051. Hit us up on WhatsApp as well, 0909-916-4403, and let's talk about this thing. We will make sure that we express what is most topical to you live on the radio. Of course, with as much time as we have to do that. But before then, let's look at the press, okay? The Punch, the Vanguard, the Nation, the Daily Trust, and the Daily Independent. Before us this morning, we'll check out the stories in these dailies before we talk about the issues, okay? In the Punch newspaper, APC senators, reps, attack party, say we are not better than the PDP. Cop involved in ex-minister's daughter's killing, part of investigating team. Police officers threaten strike in Anambra over unpaid allowances. Kaduna relaxes curfew, begs airlines and NRC to resume operations. Scores killed as Boko Haram attacks military base in Borno. Buhari, Saraki, PDP, Obaseki, others mourn as Aneni dies at 85. I made a mental note to kick off the show this morning with that. Not sure how that skipped my mind. But of course, our condolences to the family of the Anenis, and we pray that God grants his entire family the fortitude to bear the loss. And of course, the people of Edo State, we pray also that God rests Aneni's soul. Still in the Punch newspaper, Yoruba youth warn Tinubu against supporting Buhari. 2019, PDP condemns Buhari's aid. INEC chairs secret meeting. Wike compensates market fire victims with 400,000 naira each. Command arrests 4 persons for stealing jeep. Police nab fake beggar in Anambra. Recover Indian hemp. And lastly, in the Punch, Nigeria will break if it becomes Islamic nation, says Oyedepo. We now go over to the Vanguard newspaper. In the Vanguard this morning, anxiety grips APC governors as NWC meets 2019. Don't cheat us of our right. Cross River North are saying. Ekiti Oshun polls, APC trying to influence election tribunals, and that is coming from the PDP. Cult war, reps want killers and gun runners in Ajegunle arrested. Presidency, it will be Ndigbo's turn in 2023. Buhari support group replies Fashola. Buhari's failure to tender certificate showed he failed through school, says the Southwest PDP. Family announces funeral program for Alile. And lastly, in the Vanguard, NES24, Nigeria must support SMEs and agri to move from poverty to prosperity. And that has come from Sekibo. We now go to the Nation newspaper. In the Nation, Aneni dies at 85. Nigeria earned $1.1 trillion from oil in 28 years. 2019 poll, Osinbajo Atiku renew restructuring battle. Army, 3 dead as Shiites clash with troops in Abuja. Supreme Court's rebuke unsettles Court of Appeal. Atiku no match for Buhari, says Senator. Aneni gave so much party politics and democracy in Nigeria, says Tinubu. Falana to African Commission, NGOs lead anti-graft battle. 2019, we are learning shaku shaku dance steps, says the Vice President Osinbajo. Buhari mourns Tony Aneni. Secure clearance before procession. Police tells Al-Zaki-Zaki group. Lastly, 2019, Buhari is qualified by law to contest, says Kayode Ajulo. The Daily Trust newspaper, Buhari certificate saga a distraction, says Information Minister Lai Mohammed. Kwara denies involvement in offer robbery suspects arraignment. Forgiveness panacea to national unity, says Ikpeazu. Police mobile squadron units to be established in Barkin Ladi. Operation Safe Haven donates foodstuff to orphanages in Plateau. Kaduna can warns perpetrators of violence sanctioned. Early detection key to prevention of cancer, and that is coming from Bagudu. Dangote to construct a 35-kilometer road in Lagos, says Fashola. NDLEA Kasham wanted in America. And lastly, the Daily Trust, Ukraine issues over 4,000 visas to Nigerians in 3 years. The last daily, but definitely not the list, is the Daily Independent. We may not beat PDP even with rigging, says APC Senator Ibrahim. It says Northeast may not support APC and false selective fight against corruption. Akpabio reviewed road contracts from 28.3 billion naira to 71.3 billion naira in 3 years, says the Akwa Ibom government. Buhari, PDP, Ibori, Obaseki, Batokwe, Afenifere, Mon, Tony, Aneni. Restructuring, it is impossible to revise history, Atiku replies Oshimbajo. Kogi health sector faces crisis as 79 doctors resign. Oh my word. Lastly, in the Daily Independent, 8 killed in army and Shiites Abuja clash. That is definitely topical this morning. Lagos, those are the headlines. Which piques your interest? If you were hopefully able to get the name of the paper that is reporting the story that you are most interested in, go out there, grab a hard copy, read up on the details before you get into any argument. You need to have your details before you get into any argument, have the facts, have the figures, etc. And of course, stay here while you're at it. Stay here as we give you some insights, some analysis, and of course, like I said before, scale the thoughts, the comments, and the ideas of many Nigerians scattered all over the country with regards to what's happening in this nation, with the politics of the country, the economy, etc. Stick with us. Topical Issues is up next.
City 1051 FM.
Is at City 1051 and our WhatsApp number 0909-916-4403. We'll be taking your comments as well via the phone lines on 0700 1051 1051 and our WhatsApp number that doubles as our phone line as well. And so make sure that you are very straight to the point with your comments. Make sure that you are putting your thoughts together while the analysis is going on. So when we come to you, you are able to hit the 1 minute mark and get your point across. Gbola Oba is in the studio. It's exactly 10 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning to you, Gbola Oba. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Bella. Good
Happy
morning,
Monday
Lagos. Happy every day to everybody.
Right.
Once God has given you the grace to see the day,
It's a happy day.
I wish you a happy day.
Awesome stuff. Let us take a look at one headline that really rattled cages over the weekend and really caused some stir as well. The news about thousands of members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria storming the Kuba Expressway in the FCT yesterday to demand the release of their leader, Ibrahim Al-Zaki-Zaki, and to protest the killing of Shiites by the Nigerian army. Now, according to reports, the Shiites blocked Dutse and Galadima ends of the expressway, obstructing traffic for about 2 hours as they chanted solidarity songs and carried flags containing a deceased member and Al-Zaki-Zaki. The military, through the army headquarters garrison yesterday, confirmed that its soldiers shot dead 3 of the protesting Shiites in the Zuba area of Abuja on Saturday after the protesters allegedly attacked the military convoy and pelted personnel with stones. The army said the Shiites smashed both military and civilian vehicles' windscreens and windows, and they also attempted to overrun the escorts to cut away the ammunition and missiles the troops were escorting. The army also said that the troops opened fire to rescue the situation, and 3 of the protesters were killed. I think first off, where are we with Al-Zaki-Zaki and the government?
We are at a juncture with Al-Zaki that the government is confidently disrespecting the rule of law. That is for Al-Zaki's issue with the government.
Right.
Because courts of competent jurisdiction and this are pronounced that Al-Zaki be granted bail. But having said that, that issue is totally different from the dangerous lifestyle and indeed dangerous predisposition of Al-Zaki and his followers, which has historical antecedents,
So what happened with
and which is consistent with what happened over the weekend, that they tend to demonstrate their foolishness by wanting to engage people who hold live ammunitions and engage them with stones. I don't know, maybe they overread maybe the story of Anabi Dauda too is in the Quran. The story of David is in the Quran. Because if not that, why would a sane human being want to engage somebody who is holding a gun with live ammunition? I don't know why they do that. But you know what? I saw a footage of about 2 minutes. I think the army, from the little I saw in that footage, the army too has embellished the story. These guys have a tendency, and we have rich enough antecedents. They have a tendency to be somewhat intrepid and not run away from the army or run away from
protesters.
not run away from agencies of state or operatives of agencies of state holding guns. They have that tendency. Indeed, they would rather foolishly
engage in a gun battle.
Engage them by throwing stones. I like all the people I saw on the side of the Al-Zaki people at that Zuba junction incident were throwing stones. The soldiers that I saw were shooting. If I were to swap places with the soldiers, would I shoot too? Yes, I would shoot. Why would I not shoot? My numbers are small relative to the numbers of the people throwing stones.
Right.
I wouldn't even know. I'm not omniscient. I wouldn't even know that those who have the temerity to throw stones, notwithstanding their history, I wouldn't expect a soldier to know that maybe at the level of their command system. But as a soldier, I wouldn't know if those who were throwing stones, if some of them had live weapons and live ammunition too. So self-preservation becomes my first instinct. But the point is that the people I saw were not prepared to take Nigerian army's weapons or the things that they were taken to the place they were taken it to. Because of that footage, if they had wanted to take those ammunitions, they could have been better prepared and they wouldn't have been using stones, because the stones, the way they were stoning from what I saw, was more instinctive, a response of intrepidity and resistance. Foolishly though.
Now, what does this really say about the protest culture in this part of the world?
No. You cannot juxtapose the intrinsic foolishness of the Al-Zaki people with protest culture generally, across the Nigerian civil society scenario. These Al-Zaki people are particularly foolish human beings, because if you are not foolish, how would you be engaging somebody with guns, just with stones? They have a tendency to do that. I think the guy has, over the years, over the decades that he has assumed that, foolish leadership of that movement, he has inculcated them, indoctrinated them
to be violent,
to be more fearless, bordering violence. When you exhibit intrepidity or when you exhibit stubbornness to people who are better armed than you, they would presume your resistance, your stubbornness, your intrepidity, your obstinacy. They would presume it to be.
How would you advise the government to deal with this issue?
I think in many ways than one. When I was looking at that footage yesterday, I shook my head, because it shows that even in our criminological system, we don't improve by reviewing circumstance. The footage I saw yesterday was consistent with the footage that I saw about 3 years ago. The Al-Zaki people were largely in that 3 years ago, because that happened in their neighborhood. They were largely throwing stones, and the most dangerous weapon they were wielding were machetes. Yesterday, because I guess they were going on what the police was saying was on an approved street protest, which in itself, the police is wrong for saying that. There are instant court judgments in Nigeria that says people can protest without getting police permit. I'm not saying this for some foolish people to get together and go and protest and be and be facing police bullets. So, but there are instant. This job sometimes for me, this task sometimes for me, one has to be. I don't like foolish people who risk their lives. Human lives are so precious that you can't afford to be risking it. Right. But one has to state the obvious too. The obvious is that there are instant court judgments that says the police cannot deny Nigerians the fundamental constitutional right
to stage a protest.
To stage a protest, peaceful protest. So if those people were marching as they were marching and they were not wielding guns and they were not disturbing the public, okay, the army also alleged or has alleged that they were doing illegal roadblocks, were also kind of disturbing the free flow of traffic. If they did that, which I wouldn't know, I can only believe the army's allegation on that. If they did that, that was illegal.
Alrighty, on to other topical issues. This resurfaced sometime last week, and it was heavy. It was a heavy issue that was being dealt with on social media. The president's issue with the WAEC certificate resurfaced last week, and his spokesman Femi Adesina has said that the certificate saga is a dead issue. He said the certificate saga is dead, and that only idle people will consider it. Now, it said it's something that has been laid to rest before the 2015 general elections, and that those raising the issue, the PDP and others, are idle and they have run out of ideas. They see defeat staring them in the face and they are desperate to cling to any straw. The issue was resolved before the election in 2015, and it's a matter of fact that when President Buhari and others joined the military, they took their original certificates from them. The military knew where they kept the original certificates of the president. Is this an issue? Should this be an issue right now, Gbola Oba? For an office like that of the president?
If you are in opposition, it should be an issue because adversarial politics, as we play it in Nigeria or as we borrowed it from the West, we have an adversarial form of liberal democracy. There will be a party that is the ruling party, and there will be a party that is the opposition party. And I tell people, the word opposition does not in itself say that the opposition party must wake up every morning and say, the ruling party, you are doing well, oh, we like you. The leader of the party, thank you. That's not the duty of the ruling party. In fact, that's not the duty of the opposition party. The duty of the opposition party is, as within the context of the law, try to besmirch, indeed rubbish, the efforts and the accomplishments of the ruling party to prove that it is better placed for the electorate to choose to replace the ruling party. So, if I were to be a member of the PDP today, sometimes polished as one would want to, ideologically and otherwise, politics, when it comes to politics, this is game. Let's be very honest with ourselves. Because the APC will use the same against a PDP's candidate if they have the same this thing. And they are using without any prima facie conviction in Nigeria. They are using the issue of corruption well enough against Atiku. If anybody knows any prima facie conviction against Atiku in Nigeria, they can call me and tell me. Even in the US, it was his wife's account that they said those who were convicted paid money into. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, that is, we are in the silly season of politics, and these things will happen. But having said that, let's also come to. I had from 2014 till last Friday, I had always felt a funny feeling when it comes to, especially when after becoming president, the president had to engage about, say, 7 senior advocates of Nigeria to go defend him in court on the issue of the certificate, because I was thinking he had become the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If it was during President Goodluck Jonathan, I would say the army, like I felt the army was mischievous then, were deliberately denying producing a certificate. Now, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, it would just take an instruction for them to produce a certificate or explain the circumstance, through which the certificate could not be produced. But having said that, I read a very detailed interview of Lieutenant General Alani Akinade, retired, who also got into the army about the same time with President Muhammadu Buhari, and he stated how the originals of the certificates were taken, and that even his own certificate, he does not know the whereabouts of the certificate now, because the army could not produce it the last time he asked for it. So if it could happen to Alani Akinade, and you know what, there is something in evidence, in basic evidence, this thing. If somebody is saying something has happened to him, and another person who has credibility backs it up, especially with similar facts and circumstances, I can only at this juncture believe that, notwithstanding the fact that the president meets the constitutional condition, because the constitutional provision says that school cert or its equivalent, nobody would say Buhari does not have his equivalent. I was just thinking that if it were any of his handlers, I would have produced his primary school certificate if they had that. But if they don't have that, I will just produce the military. He has a master's from America's elite defense military academy.
Right.
I will just produce that.
Okay then. Other topical issues this morning: federal government unpaid subsidy arrears affecting our operations, and that's coming from marketers. Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association (DAPMA) said that unpaid subsidy arrears of over 650 billion naira by the federal government posed huge financial challenges to the downstream operations. According to the executive secretary of the association, the settlement of the debts owed them would save their assets from being taken over by banks, and the downstream segment of the Nigeria's petroleum industry is fast becoming unattractive to lending institutions owing to rising debt profiles of its players on account of unpaid subsidy by government. Now, he said this is posing a huge financial challenge to oil marketers and threatening business survival. It's interesting that this is coming at this time of the year, because it's almost as if Nigerians are now used to something happening with the oil sector towards the end of the year and the beginning of the new year.
Once you know that, so why do you want me to be blowing saliva on that?
I mean, it's topical. Let's talk about it.
But we know that the opportunity of the year, the year coming to an end, and the fact that a lot of festivities will be happening, and people would have to do long journeys to their ancestral homesteads in the hinterland. The petroleum people use it to make sure that the debts owed them by the federal government, if not totally paid, some of it are extracted from the treasury. Is it not something that having done this job for a number of?
But I think holding the government accountable for their payments
is their money.
Essential.
It's their money. Some of us, I tell people, I am one entrepreneur who finds it very reluctant to do business with governments. If my business strategies are always I give priority to targeting that person who will see the value I've created, find the value useful to that person's value chain creation, and pay me for it. The idea of how they get to be owed by the government, I don't know, but this is the government that is even denying that is not paying subsidy, and yet.
All right, before we go to the phone lines, at 7:30, we will go to the phone lines to take your comments. In the Daily Independent, one topical issue that I know, so sometime last week, someone said there were very many medical practitioners who were leaving the country. And this morning, it's also been reported that the Kogi health sector is facing crisis as 79 doctors resign. They resigned in reaction to irregular payment of salaries. According to Dr. Kabiru Zubair, the chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, Kogi State Chapter, he noted that doctors who were at the forefront of the struggle for better welfare for health workers had lost the zeal to fight due to the nonchalant attitude of the government. What threat does this really pose? Having at the back of your mind that...
Give power to the youth. Give power to the youth. The governor of Kogi is less than 45. How old is he? How old is the guy? He's less than 50. Yeah. I'm sure he's less than 50. And yet he does not know that in a sane society, medical practitioners should be paid at least. If not because of those of them who have, I don't want to use the word because I have a mentor who listens regularly to this program every morning. The word coming on my tongue, guys, if I use it, it will chastise me again this afternoon.
Many Nigerians were a bit disappointed about the fact that...
And yet, that person, the doctor, you expect him to stay when ordinarily some very same countries where people use their heads and know that human beings are not robots. And even robots, I jokingly tell people that God did not create bionic woman. Hollywood did. Even Hollywood that created bionic woman, at a point they got tired of it, they rested the series. Human beings must fall sick. And those same societies who pay doctors well, you don't expect them to go out to go and... So that's why...
Nigerians were disappointed about the fact that there wasn't any major recognition of Dr. Adadebo, who was largely responsible for
the prevention
of Ebola,
of the Ebola scourge or plague, enveloping the larger part of our society. The good thing about Adadebo for me is that heroism is far more autochthonous than the government can even orchestrate. Many of us in conversations, I was flying between Dubai and London, and I was engaged in a conversation with a Nigerian that just recognized my face and my ugly voice, and you could see the genuine compassion and this thing that was so. If they like, they should recognize that. If they like, they don't recognize that. But every time the Ebola issue comes into discourse, people of sane minds, and indeed the Nollywood fraternity, they've done the greatest. Yeah, they've done the greatest form of memorialization that one could do for a heroine of our stature.
Let's go to the phone lines right away, Lagos. 0909-916-4403. You have only 1 minute to actually air your views. So hopefully they are together. Give us a call. Please ensure that you do not make any insightful comments or that you do not defame anybody's character when you call us up. City FM, good morning. What is your name? Hello, good morning. Welcome to the show. Please go ahead.
Oh yes.
Oh dear. Do try to call us back.
I will call a court here.
City FM, good morning. What is your name? Hello, good morning. Are you there? Hello.
We held a seminar. We won the seminar at ULDA
Right.
last Saturday. I want, in fact, I spoke on the topic of preparing for immigration because we know that lots of our young people are flocking out. So they better be prepared to live a quality life and not tarnish the image of the country.
City 1051 FM.
Downtown locales, precincts of Lagos. Proliferation of small arms is a major phenomenal problem, criminological problem that we are pretending not to see. You go to Mushin, if the Nigerian police goes to Mushin today and there is an open battle, they cannot subside, they cannot override the bastards who are holding the gun in a jiffy, because there are so much illicit guns in all these communities that I wonder the Nigerian police has to devise something more creative to clean those this, apart from the typical.
But I mean, is there a possibility of some way using these guys for security purposes in these areas? This is just thinking.
We must
a more nuanced view to this.
It's better to think outside the box. There are so many ideas that could be worked on, but it entails having to sit down, think critically, and do something that is far more.
City 1051 FM.
Topical issues, are you there? Alright, I'll go straight to Twitter at City1051. That's our Twitter handle at City1051. Fine Williams on Twitter says, first off, Buhari should release Al-Zaki-Zaki, and secondly, give his movement a code of conduct that they must follow or get proscribed. Jolly Agawa says the issue surrounding PNB certificate is not about the opposition's fight, but that of every concerned Nigerian. For crying out loud, for how long will this man continue to fool us? A big shame on the personality of his spokesperson. Posterity is watching. Emeka Akbar says, are we still talking about subsidy in 2018? Where are the refineries? Addition from Bangboy 007, I work for this nation, when the information minister said yesterday that it's an insult for Nigerians to ask for the certificate of the president. Let's take a few more messages. This is from WhatsApp. Taria Douglas from Victoria Island says APC has no moral standing to challenge PDP's presidential aspiration on integrity test. Integrity to me means doing what you have promised. APC promised Nigerians nationwide that they will revamp the economy, fight insurgency and corruption, and bring corruption to a halt. Have they been able to revamp the economy by increasing and reducing the standard and cost of living respectively? The answer is no, because we see pockets of violence nationwide, illegal fuel subsidy being executed by the NNPC without the National Assembly's approval, non-holistic fight on corruption, President Buhari's certificate still not submitted to INEC for verification, to say the list. Please, Nigerians, shine your eyes and vote wisely come 2019.
The only thing I want to say is, are there no APC members out there who can also write? Because these people, the way they are giving it to APC. So I say APC to talk more, we call them the tongue borrowing, because I don't understand them. Because I'm not APC spokesperson.
How true is the how true is the fact that raised rather by Nnamdi Kanu that the real Buhari died since January? Okay, this is just hogwash. Funshaw says, Gbola Oba, your explanation of PNB certificate did not appeal to me. Did he not have copies before giving out the originals to the army, or no photocopier in those days? Did the INEC request for the originals or just copies? What will you say about the video out there where the army spokesperson explained that they don't have PNB certificate and that he joined the army while in school, not after writing his WAEC?
If you want me not to believe Alani Akinrade, retired Lieutenant General, former Chief of Staff, former Chief of Army Staff, one of those young men who fought the Nigerian Civil War and came out as a hero, amongst others. If you want me not to believe him and just believe you, then I will say, please let me err on the side of not believing you, but believing Alani Akinrade. Alani Akinrade says the same thing happened to him. So, but like I said earlier on, if I were to be a member of the PDP, I'll still be rubbing it in, because that won't.
Stanley Nakota, it's a shame that the certificate saga is coming out again. The truth is that PNB doesn't have any school certificate. It's common in the north. They entered army without their certificate.
Let me quickly say something to that.
Okay.
The incumbent governor of Katsina State, the president state, when he became Speaker of the House of Representatives, some people went to court to challenge the fact that he didn't have the minimum qualification. Because Masari also got into the civil service with primary school, this thing, but rose to become a director level officer. What the Court of Appeal eventually ruled on Masari was that because he ultimately attained the position of a director in the state civil service, that would suffice as this thing for. So is anybody telling me that a Buhari that went to an elite military institution in America does not have school certificate?
We have to go, but we'll take this one from Ernest in Ejigbo. The late doctor who lost her life to the fight of Ebola will definitely be remembered in the hearts of many, even though the government don't want to immortalize her for her bravery.
They are just foolish
Gbola
if they are not immortalizing her.
This morning, we're back tomorrow
No,
morning.
because she deserves it.
Do follow on Twitter at City1051 and at Gbola Oba, Gbolaoba. Up next is Sports City. Do stay with us.
City 1051 FM.